On my stream last week, we talked about the theme of loneliness. Seeing as it is one of the greatest fears of humanity, it makes total sense that the Twilight Zone would tackle it from more than one angle. We come now to one of my personal favourite stories in the first season. This episode and Escape Clause were also the other two episodes, along with Mr. Denton on Doomsday, that Serling teased in his message to his sponsors, which we of course watched together during the first episode of this program. Before we dive in, I do want to warn you, this one is kind of sad.
Witness, if you will, a dungeon made out of mountains, salt flats, and sand that stretch to infinity. The dungeon has an inmate. James A. Corey, and this is his residence. Metal shack. An old touring car that squats in the sun and goes nowhere, for there is nowhere to go. For the record, let it be known that James A. Corey is a convicted criminal placed in solitary confinement. Confinement in this case stretches as far as the eye can see, because this particular dungeon is on an asteroid 9 million miles from the Earth. Now witness, if you will, a man's mind and body shriveling in the sun. A man dying of loneliness.
The Lonely was directed by Jack Smite and written by Rod Serling. James A. Corey, played by Jack Warden, is a convicted murderer who has been sentenced to 50 years of solitary confinement on a distant asteroid. He pleads self-defense, but nonetheless, he must at least endure the punishment until a judge gets around to reviewing the case. Corey is going mad from the complete and utter lack of people, but gets excited when he sees a spaceship land nearby. This ship belongs to Captain Allenby, who along with his crewmen brings supplies to him and the other exiles 4 times a year. Corey runs out to greet them and demonstrates to the audience just how neurotic his cruel punishment has made him.
Allenby! Allenby! Allenby!
How are you, Corey?
All right. You?
What a place you've got here, Corey.
Glad you like it.
I didn't say I liked it. I think it stinks.
Well, you don't have to live here.
No, but I have to come back here 4 times a year. That's 8 months out of 12, Corey, away from Earth. Sometimes my kids don't even recognize me when I come home. But you've got it made here, haven't you, Corey? Yeah, this makes for simple living, doesn't it? 6,000 miles from north to south, 4,000 from east to west, and all of it just like this.
All right, Adams, cut it out. Well, we've only got a 15-minute layover this time, Corey.
Oh, look, no one's checking on your schedule way out here. We can play a couple of games of cards or something, huh?
I'm sorry, Corey. If we delay our time of departure any longer than 15 minutes, it just places us in a different orbital position. We never make it back to Earth. Now, we'd have to stay here at least 14 days before this place would be in position again.
Oh, 14 days. Hey, look, I got some beer saved. We can play some cards. You know.
Yeah, I know. I wish we could, Corey, but like I said, we've only got 15 minutes.
Well, what's a few minutes? I mean, hey, look, we can play some chess. I built a chess set and everything.
Let's go in.
Allenby, only 2 minutes are gone. 2 minutes have passed already. We've only got 13 left. Now, look, I don't want to foul up your schedule, but how about one game of cards, huh?
Listen, we just don't have the time.
Hey, we've been here 2 minutes already, and he hasn't asked about the pardon.
How about it, Allenby?
You're out of luck, Corey. The sentence reads 50 years. And they're not even reviewing cases of homicide. You've been here 4 years now, so that makes 46 more to go, so make yourself comfortable, huh?
Though his wingmates delight in his suffering, Allenby clearly feels for the poor exile, and tells him he hopes the punishment will be reversed, but he can't control what happens to him. It's made clear that Allenby is a very kind man, as he has left him extra goodies from time to time to alleviate the boredom. For example, the car we see in the beginning was thanks to Allenby, who gifted Corey with the parts at some point, so he could spend his time building it, passing a few days by. Allenby and his crew take their leave, much to Corey's despair, but leave him a large canister before heading off. After the ship takes off and Corey is once again alone, he opens the container and finds out what he's been left.
You are now the proud possessor of a robot built in the form of a woman. To all intent and purpose, this creature is a woman. Physiologically and psychologically, she is a human being with a set of emotions and a memory track. The ability to reason, to think, and to speak. She is beyond illness, and under normal circumstances should have a lifespan similar to that of a normal human being. Her name is Alicia.
My name's Alicia. What's your name?
Get out of here. Get out of here. I don't need a machine. Go on, get out of here.
My name's Alicia. What's your name?
Alicia is a robot, or robit, as everyone seems to keep pronouncing it, who is designed to be a companion. Corey is rather put off and even mildly disgusted by her. He tries to get rid of her, pushing her around and actually being rather violent, but he stops in his tracks when he sees her cry, and wipes the tears away from her eyes. Something begins to develop between them. I'll let Corey say it himself.
Alicia's been with me now for 11 months. It's difficult to write down what has been the sum total of this very strange and bizarre relationship. Is it man and woman? Or man and machine? I don't really know myself. But there are times when I do know that Alicia is simply an extension of me. I hear my words coming from her, my emotions. The things that she has learned to love are those things that I've loved. I'm not lonely anymore. Each day can now be lived with. I love Alicia. Nothing else matters.
Sparked by his desperate need for a companion, his disgust finally falls away, and he falls in love with Alicia. His dread is suddenly replaced by peace, even joy, as he realizes he can bear these long years ahead of him with her by his side. There's even a scene where they stargaze together. Suddenly, news comes to rock the boat. Allenby, on one of his supply runs, comes with news from Earth. Corey's case has been ruled self-defense, and he is being pardoned from his exile. He can go home. Corey is thrilled, and says he'll be ready to go as soon as he goes and gets Alicia. Allenby then pops his balloon. The ship already has 7 other pardoned passengers on board. There's only room for Corey and 15 pounds of luggage. Alicia can't come. Allenby can't make exception for Alicia, since they took a beating from a meteor shower and lost some fuel on the way here. After a tense debate, Corey refuses to leave Alicia behind, and so, hoping to free his friend, Allenby takes matters into his own hands.
Alicia! Alicia, show them! Talk to them, show them! Talk to them, Alicia. Show them. Alicia, show them.
I don't have any choice, Corey. I have no choice at all.
Corey?
No. No!
Corey. 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 Corey.
Corey. Corey.
We've got to go now, Captain.
We will go now. Come on, Corey. Time to go home. It's all behind you now, Corey. It's all behind you. It's like a bad dream, nightmare. When you wake up, you'll be back on Earth. You'll be home.
With Alicia gone, Corey reluctantly climbs into the ship and heads for Earth, ending this episode. What I like so much about this episode is that Serling takes a similar concept brought forth in Where Is Everybody, the very first episode, and takes it in a new direction, while also sprinkling in some existentialism for good measure. There is such an interesting thought experiment here about what a human will and can do to stave off the sting of loneliness. There was a fairly recent movie called Her, about a man falling in love with an AI assistant. That movie could be seen, honestly, as a modern redo of this very episode. What I also like about the episode, and it may or may not have translated through the short clips we watched, is that Alicia is definitely mechanical. She simulates humanity, but much of it is laid on her by Corey himself. As he says in his monologue, her thoughts have become his. Alicia has become Corey's projection of companionship, without necessarily being the true companion in of herself. For all intents and purposes, this is the sci-fi version of the girl of your dreams fantasy. It can be a dangerous fantasy, for humans are too flawed to ever really match up to the perfection we can project on them. Out of the seeds of loneliness, Serling has explored the many ways love can be expressed, shaped, and formed. A wonderfully poetic and melancholy episode, The Lonely receives a perfect score of 3 fedoras.